going to pop the other video on. If you've been watching this series of Facebook Live, you'll know that we've been looking at the energy of 2020 and what is going on in the world and global events and what's that really showing us about our own individual energy. Thank you for joining me. Say hi in the chat box. And that's really all about us taking personal responsibility for our energy. The world's in a bit of a funky place at the moment, and it's reflecting back a lot of significance to us if we know where to look. So what we've been looking at is some of the extreme weather events. Hi, thanks for joining. Make sure you say hi in the chat box so I know who's on the line. We've been looking at some of the extreme weather events and the elements of weather or nature that's involved and what that's showing us about our own energy and potentially the ripple effect that we can have in our own life, within ourselves and within the world around us, how we might want to change some of the energy that we're giving out. So we looked at some of the extreme air events initially, and the air relates to the element of our mental energy, our thought patterns, our judgments, and what that's reflecting back to our own judgments about ourselves and the world around us. Then the next week on Facebook Live, we were talking about the water element and some of the extreme water events happening on the planet and how that relates to the water element within us, which actually relates to our emotional body, and where we might be operating from fear, and how we can use the water element within us to shift into a greater state of inner peace and flow. And then last week we were looking at the element of fire, and that was obviously we've had a lot of bushfires in Australia and a lot of that fire energy, and the energy of fire is connected with our heart, our soul, our passion, our motivation, our drive, as well as our anger and rage and blame. So we were looking at how we can use the element of fire to perhaps shift our own personal energy and have a different ripple effect in our life that perhaps helps take things forward in a constructive way rather than a damaging way. So this week we're going to be looking at the element of earth. And earth really relates to our physical body and everything connected with that, our actions, our behaviors, some of our habits, physical habits. So if you look at some of the extreme earth events that have been happening in the world, we had, the volcanic eruption in New Zealand last year. We've had numerous landslides around the world, sinkholes. When you think about the earth in terms of how it's being overworked, over-farmed, some of the nutrients are not there. The earth, the soil quality is not as good as it certainly used to be, or its natural state. In some areas it's far from its natural, beautiful, balanced state. And some of the things we've been putting into the earth in terms of pesticides and chemicals that have really been changing the quality of our soil. And what we've been doing with trees on the earth in terms of cutting them down and the lungs of our planet. So there's a lot of things happening globally when it comes to the earth element. And really, what's the significance of that for us individually in terms of our own physical body, well-being, and how anchored and grounded we are within our own physical energy. So that's what tonight's going to be about. And I've worn Mickey, because it's going to be a fun night. He's got 2 big feet, so he's very grounded, and his mouth, so he scurries along the earth. But really, this is about keeping it light and playful and fun, at the same time looking at what the significance is for us individually and how we can use the energy to assist ourselves. And really take responsibility, as I said, about the energy we're giving out, because that's the biggest thing. So when we look at the earth element, like every element, it can be constructive in its energy and also destructive in its energy, in the force of it. So if we look at some of the destructive aspects of the earth element, it really relates to our sense of security and survival. Church. He's adding to the show there. So the earth element can relate to our physical base connection with survival and belonging on the planet and belonging within community. So our sense of security, if you like. And where we have insecurity, we will often turn to patterns of control and really, stating our power and having authority over things and power over things. So we can start to be damaging in the way we use our earth-grounded energy, and particularly physically when that control starts to move into, of course, aggression and violence and power and domination over others, then that's a pretty destructive use of our earth element, our physical element. So if you look at, the volcanic eruption, what that was expressing was where our energy around our physical power and anger and rage might perhaps be a bit out of balance, and the energy can't be contained anymore. And how can we actually look at, well, where am I carrying that energy myself? Where might my anger be pretty explosive? And I might want to really use my physical energy in damaging ways to myself or possibly to people or the environment around me. So some of that explosive energy. Also, when we're not balanced in our earth element, we can also slip into the energy of anxiety and worry. Like our energy becomes very nervous and very a very fast vibration because we're not really anchored and grounded in that earthed way. And if you think about earthing, and houses have an earthing wire, it's for all that excess rapid energy and electricity to be earthed and sent down into the earth so that things return to a state of balance. So the element of earth within us can relate to our survival and security on that very base physical level, and the ways in which we slip into fear around that and trying to control things. It can also relate to our behaviours, be they conscious behaviours or a lot of the time unconscious behaviours, in terms of our habits, patterns around self-sabotage. That's kind of the equivalent of a sinkhole when we go to step forward and we just sabotage our own actions. Our addictions, habits that are depleting us and causing us to be in a state of ill health, in the same way that we might continue to put pesticides and chemicals into the earth and deplete the earth of all its nutrients. We can have habits that actually deplete us of the things that nourish us on that physical level, that then feed into our emotional and mental well-being. So sometimes our physical habits can when they slip into the energy of addictions, they actually have control over us. So that energy of control and that excessive control can then be anchored in not just our habits but our addictions. So all of these things are kind of interconnected in the earth element. So looking at, well, what are my habits? What are my addictions? Where am I being controlled by my physical element of earth, and my body is actually dictating things to me, not in a healthy way of, I'm hungry because I haven't eaten for 4 or 5 hours, but actually in an unhealthy way in terms of I have to keep consuming food to satiate my body because my body is driving things, because there's this underlying maybe anxiety or space within me that is not filled with the earth element, that I'm feeling the need to just keep consuming and filling. And certainly our patterns around physical consumption, we are over consumers, as a gross statement about generalization about Western life. We're constantly consuming probably a lot more than we actually need, not just in terms of food, but the things we have in our home and the things we occupy our time with. We're constantly kind of filling our body up and that space within us up, that void within us, with physical things to keep us busy on that physical level. And so where is that energy out of balance within us, and perhaps starting to become destructive, that it's actually dictating the way we operate rather than us being in that balanced state and being able to work with the energy in a more productive and constructive way. And then maybe we can also look at the earth element, like looking at things like landslides, in terms of, where do I let myself down physically, or where am I not supporting myself? Where am I, going to step forward and then just pulling the rug out from underneath my feet. It might be self-sabotage, but it might be that I don't have that strength within me, that energy within me on that grounded, anchored, earthed element level to really support myself to step forward. And it might be our thought patterns that don't support us, but it might also be our physical energy and our approach to things where we really let ourselves down. We don't have our own back, if you like, or we need other people to be supporting us because we're not prepared to support ourselves. So these are some of the things where, you know, our earth element can be a bit out of balance and not necessarily as strong. Hi, thank you for joining me. Say something about the virus. Rennie. Okay, about the coronavirus, I'm guessing that you're asking. I was going to do a talk on that in a couple of weeks' time. But what I will say is one of the most contagious things on our planet is way more contagious than any physical virus is actually the virus of fear. And when we're not using our earth element, or the other elements for that matter, the element of air in terms of our thought patterns and discernment, and the element of water in terms of our emotional response to things. But when we're not using our earth element to be really grounded in who we are, we become a lot more susceptible to the energy of fear. And fear is highly contagious. You only have to look at the toilet paper saga in Australia to realize just how contagious the energy of fear is. I hate to say it, but I actually saw on the news yesterday people fighting in the supermarket over rolls of toilet paper. And I've seen a lot of comical memes as well. And that's why I'm wearing Mickey, because when we can learn to laugh about things and not take things so seriously, then we remain anchored and grounded in our energy. So the virus that's spreading across the planet faster than the physical virus is the virus of fear. Highly contagious, and when we lose our grounding, or when we get caught up in that mass consciousness of fear, that pandemic of fear that is like washing across not the planet but across humankind, almost like a tsunami wave of emotion, when we get caught up in that, we drown in the energy. Probably tsunami is a good metaphor for that. We drown in that energy. We become caught up in the rips of that fear. And suddenly I even found myself thinking, oh, quick, I need toilet paper. Like the toilet paper's run out. As soon as we have, it's almost like that FOMO, fear of missing out. When we hear there's a shortage of something, we go into panic mode and we lose our grounding. We lose our connection in who we are. We lose our sense of security and safety and stability in that base energy center, which is our base chakra. And so we get caught up in the energy of fear. And the most sensible advice around the virus is, you know, wash your hands, take responsibility. If you may be exposed or have been in an area where there's been a high rate of exposure, then take responsible action. Action is the earth element. Do the intelligent thing. Use your earth element, air element in a very balanced way. Don't get upset about it and reacting about it and punching each other in the supermarket. Just take the responsible action. And so the coronavirus is a wonderful opportunity for us to put everything into action that I've been talking about over the last few weeks in terms of really balancing our energy and looking at what is the ripple effect we can have within our own life, within our own body, within the lives of the people around us that we interact with. Are we spreading the virus of fear, or are we spreading a more positive, calming energy that has a soothing ripple effect, that there's less panic, more discerning thought and responsibility, and we're all supporting and assisting each other to really do the best to contain this virus and minimize its impact, particularly with those that are, you know, more susceptible than others. Let's take responsibility and come together as a community. And there's been some beautiful, on the physical level, beautiful coming together of community as scientists are cooperating around the world and the medical fraternities are cooperating. And people are taking action, authorities are taking action. our job as the common person is to really not get caught up in that virus and of fear, not the physical virus, but the virus of fear. Because the other thing that happens is when we're in a state of fear, our nervous system goes into high alert. We go into that fight or flight or freeze response. We not only don't think clearly, but we bring our immune system down, because immediately we're giving signals to our immune system that there's a danger, there's a risk, be on alert. So we send our immune system into hyperdrive before there's even a risk that is present to us in the moment. Mentally, we send our nervous system into hyperdrive. And that just depletes us of that vital life force energy that if a cold or flu or virus were to come our way, or we were to, cut ourselves and our body needs to heal that, where the healing energy is needed, it's already been diverted off dealing with this pandemic of fear and panic, which is actually really vital life force energy that we need on that physical level for our digestion and our processing of things and our everyday healing and all the normal metabolic processes and our healthy sleep patterns and everything. So we're kind of diverting our energy in the wrong direction in this mass hysteria that has been sweeping through our supermarket aisles. So Rennie, I hope that helps. Great question, and of course it's very timely, and I will possibly speak to this in a couple of weeks' time, see where things are at. So I hope that's been of help. So what about the constructive energy of the earth element? I've kind of been talking a little bit about it. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat box, or even after, if you're watching this recording later on, please add comments or send me a text or an email to ask any questions. So the constructive energy of the earth element. I've been mentioning this word grounding quite a bit, anchoring, centering. I remember, I must have been, about 28 years old. I was 28 years old. I was writing a book and I was interviewing a woman, and she was talking about the practices that she does to ground and center her energy. And she kept doing this motion. And I didn't have a clue what she was talking about. Grounding, centering, what is that? But there was something about this motion that kind of communicated to me what she was talking about. And it's really, the earth element is what enables us to ground in our body, to come back in our body, to be in our body. If we've experienced any shock or trauma, the first thing that we do is, our energy kind of leaves our body because we go into this fight or flight response. So bringing our energy back in and really solid, stable, like a rock, like a mountain, being strong in our physical body, not physical muscular strength, but really anchoring our energy in our body so we are fully here, fully present in the here and the now. That's what the earth element does. It's our way of coming back to ourself and being fully embodied in the physical. We're a spiritual being having a physical experience, but if our spirit is not in our body, if our mind is not anchored here, if we're not fully present in who we are, then we're not bringing all of us to the table and to the equation. So the earth element is a great way for us to anchor and ground our energy. It's very important. It's also part of us discharging that energy. When our electromagnetic energy is really scattered and chaotic, our mind is really busy, maybe we're uptight or upset about things, then using the earth element constructively enables us to really discharge that energy down into the earth. And we're going to be doing an exercise at the end of this Facebook Live. So stay on the line and I'll show you how to do that. Action is, the earth element is to do with our physical processes, so it's to do with action. So when we're having difficulty taking action, moving forward in an area of life, then we're really not anchored and grounded in our energy. So using the earth element constructively, it helps us to take steps forward, through action, to anchor the energy of what it is we're wanting to manifest, what it is we're wanting to create, what we're wanting to bring into our physical experience, what we're wanting to embody within ourselves when we're really anchored in the energy that we want to embody. And of course, the element of on that physical level is also to do with support. And I spoke a little bit about that in terms of where might we not be supporting ourselves, and how can we really stand strong in who we are and our knowing of who we are, and step forward from that place. When we're not grounded and anchored in our energy, and we're not strong in that earth element, then it's very challenging to really step forward confidently and take those strides in the direction we want to be creating and experiencing in our reality. So that's the constructive side of the earth element, and the destructive or the less productive side of the earth element when things get out of control and out of balance. So it's helpful to just kind of reflect on when it is we don't actually anchor and ground our energy. So one of the things I mentioned was when we've had a shock. I work with a soup van in Melbourne on every second Friday evening, and last week we had a guy we were serving who just went a bit ballistic and started screaming and yelling and kicking in the door of a car. And then there was another woman who was a bit affected by drugs and was kind of acting very aggressively. And so we had to call an emergency and pack up really quickly. But what happened was that I actually, without realizing it, went into a bit of a shock. And so my energy was not grounded for the rest of the night. I was reactive. I was in that fight or flight response where I was triggered by sounds and noises around me to like be on alert. So I was a bit like a scared cat in a sense, even though I wasn't scared emotionally. My body was being triggered in that way. So certainly when we have a bit of a shock or a trauma, then we lose our grounding, or can lose our grounding. And then we can also, if we're not very grounded, we can become very distracted, much more easily distracted by what's going on physically around us. So we are living in a very busy, noisy world these days. The pace of change has increased. There's so much more stimulation, so much more information. We're in the information age, the digital age. There's so much going on around us. Things are changing all the time, becoming updated and outdated. Globally, there's so many events going on, and we're more interconnected than ever before. But that means there's a whole lot more physical stimulation going on in our life, and we can become a lot more distracted and lose our grounding as a consequence of all that busyness. And when we do become distracted on the physical level, then our focus goes out of us and we lose attention inwardly. So we lose touch with what's going on internally, and we lose touch with who we are and what our truth is and what's right for us. So in becoming ungrounded, we can become more focused on everything else and everyone else, and then we kind of lose touch with who we are, how we're feeling, what's right for us, what our truth is. So it destabilizes us. And then, of course, we feel less secure and less certain of things and become more reactive. So it creates this chain when we lose our grounding, that we become more reactive, we become more susceptible to what's going on around us, we become less rational, we become more emotional, we get more upset, and then we lose touch with what our truth is in the moment and what's best for us. So our stability and our ability to support ourselves and move forward becomes diminished as well. And then it's really, we can lose our footing if we're not grounded, and we stop nourishing ourselves in the ways that really support and assist us. We might start eating junk food because we're not coping with things. And so we're not giving ourselves the physical sustenance to really support and nourish us and our body on the physical level. And then it becomes even more difficult for us to manifest anything, to grow anything in our life, because we're not really taking the actions we need to take to move ourselves forward in the direction we want to be heading, because our attention is so busy being diverted by all these other things that are going on. So our grounding is so important. When I'm working with clients and they're feeling anxious or tired, exhausted, that can be another symptom or a sign that we're not grounded in our own energy, then the first thing I look at is, what are your practices around being grounded? What are your practices around calling back your energy and being in your body, being in the here, being anchored and grounded and centered in the now? And usually there are no practices, and we're really just bouncing around like a pinball, from one thing to the next. And that's why, the media and the news is really having a ball, no pun intended, but a ball with all of our emotional reactivity and where our attention goes, and we're just being drawn from one media headline to the next, and then we become addicted to it. So again, that physical energy, we become addicted to what's the latest headline, what's happening, what's the latest drama, and so on and so on and so on. Less and less grounded, more and more anxious, more and more wired in our energy. And really think about what's the ripple effect of that. If we get caught up in that energy and the busyness, losing our grounding, what ripple effect are we contributing into the greater consciousness of life around us and the greater consciousness of mankind? She says, scratching her head. So that mass consciousness that we're all part of, the consciousness of the masses, are we getting ungrounded, unrooted, and not centered in our energy, that we then just get caught up in that swirl and contribute more to it through our fears and our anxieties and our worries and our concerns? And I certainly hear from clients at the moment a sense of hopelessness and a bit of despair. Are things ever going to change? What's going to happen in the world? There's a lot of negative media and news at the moment. The best thing we can do is really remain anchored and grounded in our energy, and using that earth element to calm everything down so that we become much more solid in our energy, whilst also able to bend and flex and move and be flexible in our response to things, to what's happening. So let's have a couple of reflective questions here to just feel into the energy of the earth element for you. If you simply close your eyes to connect in with that energy within you, that earth element, just kind of get a sense of your physical body and how your energy feels at the moment. What's the first thing that comes? Does it feel a bit scattered, a bit wired, a bit chaotic? Does it feel calm, solid, stable, heavy, sluggish? How's your physical energy feeling? Not just in your body, but overall. What's that overall sense of energy in your body? And if you feel like it, just throw a word or two in the chat box so I can get a sense of how you're feeling at the moment. Today I had a bit of a heated debate with someone, and I felt my energy was really ungrounded. I was kind of going more into the mental energy and the emotional reactivity of the water element, and so I could feel that I'd really lost my sense of grounding in getting caught up in some of the discussion that was unfolding. So I had to go and ground my energy, which I'll talk about in a minute. So what's your energy feeling like at the moment? And then tuning in, just kind of getting a sense of where am I finding it difficult at the moment, maybe taking action, stepping forward, doing the things I intuitively know I need to do, or I aspire to doing because I want to do them, but I'm actually having difficulty taking action. Kind of get a sense of where might my earth element energy be a bit blocked around the actions I need to take at the moment. And again, on the physical level, think about some of your habits that you might have physically. What are some of the habits that keep me a bit stuck? Some habits are really productive and helpful, physical habits. We brush our teeth every morning. We wash our hands a bit more than we used to. What are some of the physical habits I have that actually might be holding me back at the moment, that I might be needing to have a look at, to be more aware of, more conscious of, and maybe make some changes around. Thanks, James. Just done yoga, feeling good, but generally going through anxious time for the last 2 months, yeah. I'm actually putting together a program at the moment because there is so much anxiety. Before the coronavirus fear epidemic, there has been an anxiety epidemic kind of building. That a lot of people are feeling anxious because of everything that's going on in the world, but also because we're not anchoring our energy and we're not sealing our energy, and that's what the course is going to be about. So you might want to keep an eye out for that, James. We're not really aware of how to manage our own energy on that really subtle level, and this is what these Facebook Lives are about in terms of looking at the energy that we're giving out and taking responsibility for that. But there's also an aspect of how we manage our energy field. So if you have been feeling anxious, or if you're listening to this recording later on and feeling anxious is something that you have been experiencing lately, you're definitely not alone. It's very widespread at the moment and people don't know what to do with it. Doing yoga is fantastic. That's a really great example, actually. I'm glad you mentioned it, James, of how we can, use physical exercise to disperse that energy of anxiety and drop back into our body through the breath of yoga, through the asanas of yoga, through opening up the body and the energy channels in the body to allow that energy to disperse and for us to become more anchored and grounded. So good job. You're feeling good after your yoga class. That's approving of what we're talking about here. Okay, so what habits are keeping me stuck? And maybe also reflecting on what area of my life am I maybe finding a bit difficult to move forward in at the moment. Maybe there's a particular area of my life that I'd like to be shifting, changing, improving, moving forward, doing things differently, but I'm actually finding it difficult taking that action in that area of my life. So just becoming aware of that. And then we're going to do a visualization in a minute to help move that energy. So any other comments for those that are listening? Hi, Mark. Thank you for joining. So when it comes to working with the earth element, let's look at now what can we do to really use this energy productively. What can we do to ground our energy? So James gave a great example. Exercise, physical exercise is a great way of dispersing the extra energy that might have been triggered through stress during the day and bringing us back into our body. So anyone who's feeling stressed and goes to see a doctor, one of the first questions they'll ask you is what physical exercise are you doing at the moment? If we're just sitting at home and stewing and brewing in the energy and it has nowhere to go, it's just going to build up and we're going to feel more and more stressed. So physical exercise helps use that energy up on a physical level in a productive way and helps bring us back into the body in a calmer state. So exercise is great. Another way of anchoring and grounding our energy, particularly if we've had a stressful encounter, is through food, through eating. Eating helps ground our energy. Sometimes when I'm working with clients after a session, I say, just go and have a little bite to eat. It will help anchor and ground the energy if you might be feeling a little bit ungrounded. It's not very common, but occasionally that happens. Just having a handful of nuts helps ground and anchor our energy. Just eating something that's a bit of a protein food. Food comes from the earth, so it is the earth's energy. So that's a great way of grounding our energy in the moment. And that's why sometimes when we're feeling stressed, we turn to comfort eating because it not only fills that void and sometimes, gives us those soothing, happy hormones, but it's also a way of grounding our energy. Going for a walk. If you can do it barefoot in the park, walking on the grass barefoot is a way of connecting physically with the earth's energy. A lot of us, we used to sleep on the earth, for goodness sake. Now we're sleeping in beds, on raised floors or sometimes in high apartment blocks. Our physical connection to the earth is getting more and more distant, and the time we're spending in nature is getting less and less, where a lot of us are living in very urbanized city environments, where landscapes where we have very little time in nature. The best we can achieve is a pot plant. So we're not getting that time connecting with the earth physically and allowing our energy to disperse and be replenished and revitalized in that way. Hi Kimberly, thanks for joining. So going for a walk, walking barefoot on the grass, laying on the earth, whole body, just a few minutes laying on the earth helps recharge our energy and helps anchor and ground us. I went for a walk at the park this afternoon. I thought, I'm always walking at the park. I have a dog and I take him for walks, but how often do I actually sit on the grass and stop and take in the sunshine and just lay there and allow the earth's energy to replenish me? And it was really beautiful. It was like recharging my battery, and that is part of the energy of the earth's energy. Or go and sit on a rock, rock, mountain. It's not just the soil of the earth, it's the mountains and that expression, solid as a rock. When someone is solid as a rock, they are your rock. They're rock solid. They're anchored, grounded. They're not going to shift and change and be volatile in their energy. So sitting on a rock is another way of really anchoring our energy. And the reason why I'm wearing Mickey is laughter is a great way of anchoring our energy, particularly when we've been a bit upset or set up, as I was talking about last week, when something has happened and there's an opportunity for us to learn something and we're taking it really seriously and getting caught up in the heaviness of it. When we can have a really good belly laugh, then that brings us back into this lower energy center in our body in a way that we're anchored and grounded, and we can see things differently. So we step out of that stress response, we step out of the air energy, and we step out of the emotional reactivity, and we come back into our body and can just have a friggin' laugh about it and lighten up in our energy, lighten off all those other heavy energies, and actually look at things differently. And think about the ripple effect of being really heavy and bogged down and serious in our energy about something, and then being able to laugh about something, have a serious belly laugh, a full-on belly laugh. Think about the difference in those two energies that we're giving out. These calls are all about, these Facebook Lives are all about taking responsibility for the energy we're giving out. And it's not to be flippant about something that is serious, but it is to say that there's always a lightness to be found in everything. Everything has purpose that we're experiencing. And when we can just learn to laugh about it a little bit, take it a little bit seriously, take the lesson from whatever it is we're experiencing, but be a bit lighter in our energy, then we're no longer in that fight mode or resistance mode or fear mode, and we're actually returning back to ourselves through the medicine of laughter. Hi Susie, thanks for joining. So what I want to do now is just take you through a bit of invite you to join me in a bit of a visualization to really connect in with that earth energy, because we can't always go for a walk. We can't always lay on the grass. It might be sub-zero temperatures where you are now or when you're watching. So sometimes it's not physically possible. We might be, living on the 37th floor in a high-rise building, and we can't just go and, walk barefoot in the park somewhere. But that's not to say that we can't connect with the earth element, because it's already there within us, and the earth is the planet on which we're living, upon which our very survival depends. So there are ways that we can connect with that earth energy simply through visualization, through the power of intent, through the power of placing our focus and of our attention on the earth and connecting with the energy, connecting through our body and through our mind and through our heart and our soul, connecting with the earth and really using it in a way that we can disperse any of the energy that we no longer need, because the earth will transmute that energy. You can't overload the earth, okay? Don't be worried about overloading the earth with your mental and emotional energy or your electromagnetic energy from all the buzziness that you're carrying. We can't overload the earth. The earth will transmute that energy for us, but it is our responsibility to call back that energy, to send it into the earth wisely rather than sending it out into the mass consciousness where it's wreaking havoc in supermarket aisles. It's our responsibility to call it back, send it down into the earth, and then to be replenished by the earth, to allow the earth's energy to come up and replenish us, refresh us, revitalize us, help us to become more anchored and centered and connected on that physical level with the earth upon which we live. So, if you're willing, if you're game, if you're happy for Mickey to lead the charge, we're going to close our eyes and just do a really gentle visualization here. So, starting by closing our eyes and taking a few slow, deep breaths. It always helps to focus on the breath. It brings our awareness and our attention back into our physical being, back into our body. Just taking in some fresh, new breaths. And with the exhale, just letting go of all our day's stress and worries and concern. Allow your shoulders to drop down. Allowing your body to soften and relax as you get more and more comfortable, more and more relaxed. And then just imagine calling back all of your energy that you've been maybe unconsciously rippling out during the day. Any negative energy, any judgments, any harsh thoughts, criticisms, angers, angst, blame. Just imagine calling all that energy back and just sending it down into the earth. Kind of like cleaning up your bit of the mass consciousness, calling it all back and sending it down into the earth. And just asking that the earth heal and transmute that energy. That you're taking responsibility for whatever energy you've given out. Let it be brought back and sent down into the earth. Just doing your bit for cleaning up the energy you've been giving out. And just imagine it coming back to your energy field, going down into the earth, and as it does, the earth healing it, transforming it, cleansing it, purifying it. That it's returned to its whole, loving, healthy, balanced state. And then just imagine yourself standing on the earth. Maybe you're standing on grass, on soil, on a mountain plateau, on the globe as a whole. Maybe you're standing on a point, an intersecting point on the planet where all the energy lines of the earth intersect. However you imagine it, whether you see it or you simply intend it, there's no right or wrong. Just imagine yourself connecting with the earth, however feels right for you. And as you do, just allow yourself to feel the earth's energy, to feel the energy of the earth. And as you do, just imagine calling up that energy of the earth into your body. Imagine it coming up through the soles of your feet. Beautiful energy of the earth coming up through your legs, traveling up through your hips, traveling up through your spine, the center of your body, through each of your energy centers, if you're aware of them, through the base chakra at the base of your spine, through the sacral chakra beneath your navel, your belly button, through the solar plexus energy center just below your ribs, through the energy center of your heart, just calling up that earth's energy. Imagine it traveling up through your throat area, through the center of your head, that third eyebrow area, up through the crown of your head, the top of your head. And imagine that earth's energy coming up and replenishing your body and fountaining out the crown of your head, and then just gently coming back down to the earth. So you're really calling up the energy of the earth through the whole of your body. It's replenishing you and fountaining back down. And just allow yourself to really be replenished on that physical level by the earth energy. Really feeling a sense of connection, appreciation for this beautiful energy, this balanced, whole, complete, that nourishes our physical well-being on every level. And as you do, imagine bringing in your light from your higher self, from your soul, from your essence, that light that sits at a point about 1 meter above your head. Imagine calling in a beautiful radiant white light from about 1 meter above your head through the energy centers in reverse order. So coming down through the crown, through the third eye, the brow area, bringing your light in through your throat area, down through your heart, down through your solar plexus below your ribs, down through your sacral chakra below your navel, down to the base of your spine, and then bringing that light all the way down through your legs, through the soles of your feet, down into the earth, as far down as the energy needs to go in order for you to feel really anchored and grounded. To feel really centered in your energy. And just notice how that feels. And then in noticing how that feels, what we're going to do, just for you to feel the difference in energy, is we're going to do it in reverse order. So we're going to bring in your light down through the crown of your head, through the third eye, through the throat, through the heart, through the solar plexus, the navel, the base, down into the earth. And we're going to anchor and ground our energy again for a second time, like we just did before. We're going to do that. Imagine doing that first. And once you feel that light really anchored and grounded, now we're going to bring up the earth's energy from the soles of our feet up through the base energy center, the base of our spine, up through the navel area, up through the solar plexus, the ribs, up through the heart area, bringing that earth energy up through the throat, through the third eye, through the crown of the head, and then fountain that energy out through the crown of the head. And just notice the difference. How does it feel for you when you bring your light in and anchor that energy in the earth first, and then bring up the earth's energy? You might find that it feels different, that it's actually a better way for you to anchor your energy first and then be replenished, rather than doing it the way I did initially, which was bringing up the earth's energy and then anchoring your light. So just notice the difference for you. Anchoring your energy in the earth and then bringing up that earth's energy to replenish your physical being, your body. Notice how that feels for you. And then lastly, just bring your awareness into your heart area. And just think about an area of your life at the moment where maybe things are a bit stuck. They're not moving in maybe the way you'd like them to move, or you're ready to take the next step. And just bringing your awareness into your heart space, just ask the question here: what is one action I could take that would help me to move forward in this area of my life? What is the next step I need to take to anchor and ground the energy for me to move forward in this area of my life, to help create whatever it is I'm wanting to manifest, to experience, to bring into my reality? And whatever comes, don't edit it, don't judge it. Just note it down. What's the next step for me to take? What's one action I can take to move myself forward in this area? And then just take a couple of slow, deep breaths. And notice how your energy feels. And whenever you're ready, just gently open your eyes. Give your fingers and toes a bit of a wriggle, have a bit of a stretch. And notice how your energy feels now. Notice what kind of ripple effect your energy is giving out now, internally and in the space in which you're currently in. So, how was that for you? Those that have joined me live on the call, how was that for you? How did you find that visualization? How did you feel or experience the energy? You may have felt and experienced it. You may have just had a general sense of it. There's no right or wrong there. Be happy for anyone to share anything that you experienced during that, or any insights that came, or what were the next steps, actions for you to take. And did you notice the difference in bringing your energy, your light in and anchoring it first, and then bringing up the earth's energy, compared to doing it the other way around, bringing up the earth's energy and then anchoring your light? You may find quite a few people do it the first way, bringing up the earth's energy and then anchoring your light, but actually I find it personally more effective to bring in my light and anchor it down into the earth, bring myself fully here and anchored and grounded, and then to fill myself up with the physical energy of the earth. So I personally would recommend doing it that way. But you might have experienced people teaching it the other way. So just want you to have an experience of both. So any comments? Anyone like to share anything? Or anyone have any questions? Come on, you brave souls. I know there's a lot of you on the call now, so if you have any questions at all, anything you'd like to share. Did anyone not experience anything, feel completely blocked? Like I said, there's no right or wrong. these things, the more we practice them, the more we start to tune into the energy of it, and the more we start to sense what's going on within our body, within the energy. We start to sense where our physical energy might be blocked, where we might have difficulty anchoring, and we start to become more attuned to noticing our energy throughout the day and noticing, oh, I'm really ungrounded now, or my energy is very scattered. I could do with, going outside and having a breath of fresh air and just going for a walk to ground and center my energy. So James, the two energies, earth and light, felt very different in texture. Yeah, beautiful. And Rennie, I need my glasses because the writing is so small. It is Rennie. I wasn't sure if it was Remy. I've meditated and live meditation is always so much better, and a good teacher is always wonderful. Thank you, Rennie. I hope that's directed at me, or another live teacher is great as well. Susie, thanks. Meditation is a bit like Tonglen, a Buddhist practice. Yep, definitely lovely. Now feeling open to the universe and much more centered. Bringing the light from above helped give more energy than from below, and that helped to ground it. Excellent. So I'd say you guys did an awesome job, and if you're watching this recording afterwards, feel free to share your comments. Love to hear what your experience is, and if you have any questions at all. Does anyone on the live call have any questions? Anything that you'd like me to cover off when it comes to that earth element? Type them in the chat box. Hopefully that's been of some benefit to you. Obviously, this is something that you can do for yourself anytime, anywhere. You could do it while you're sitting on the bus, when you're in the busy city traffic. You can do it in the morning when you're having a shower. Imagine the water, well, not imagine, but as the water cascades over down through you, you can bring your light in, anchor your energy, and then bring that earth energy up so that you're kind of like standing underneath a waterfall, and you've got that rock platform beneath you, and you're connecting with the earth energy as well as the water element. So it's something that you can use anytime. It's free. You can do it in 30 seconds. It doesn't need to be a lengthy process. The more frequently we do ground our energy, the greater the benefit. So it is something that would really benefit all of us, particularly in a busy, chaotic world where there's so much energy that can be fracturing our own energy. It's so much benefit for us to anchor and ground our energy every day, preferably at the start of the day. And certainly the process we just did where we called back our mental and emotional energy and sent it down into the earth, that's a brilliant process to do at the end of the day, because, we do tend to judge, we do tend to criticize, we do tend to get affronted by people or situations, and we're putting out that energy there on the psychic level all the time. So to take responsibility for that on a daily basis, to call back that energy and send it down into the earth at the end of the day is something that we can all do, and we're really creating a positive effect with that. So don't think it's some trivial thing. It really has energetic consequences. It's almost like calling back our, if you sneeze, we've been talking about the virus, but if you sneeze your virus out there, it's kind of like calling that energy back so that it doesn't do any harm, sending it down into the earth for it to be healed and transformed, and then replenishing our energy at the end of the day. So we have a beautiful solid sleep at the end of the day as well. So something we can all do. Protecting your energy while sleeping. Looks like the video has stopped there, the live recording. I've got a confused face. But there was a question about protecting your energy while sleeping, and that's something I will be addressing in the future. So I think we will leave it there. I'll post this extra recording on the site so that you get the completion of it. Next week, we're going to be in the Facebook Live looking at how we can bring all of these elements together. How we can work with the air element, the water element, the fire element, the earth element in a way that we're really doing it in a very productive, constructive cycle rather than allowing things to be more chaotic and destructive. So keep an eye out. Next Monday, 8 p.m. Sydney, Melbourne time. We're going to continue the conversation. Sorry about the interruption on the Facebook Live at the end of it. Looks like the internet fell out, but something happening there on the physical level, I am sure. I will meditate on that one and get back to you about it. Okay, thank you so much for joining me live and for being part of the community in sharing, in really looking at how we can take responsibility for our energy. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here. And as you go about the coming week, maybe just contemplate what's happening with your physical energy and how you can use the earth element to really give your energy a boost and be putting out more positive energy. Bye for now.